everybody. It's Paul from Alexander Knife Sharpening and Laser Engraving. So I made the decision to get the 5-watt IR module for my P3, and it just came in. I'm going to do a video on how to install the unit, because it's not just this simple little just snap it right in type of thing. So I want to show you what's involved, and they also have steps for calibrating it. So I'm going to show you the installation and calibration, and then I will start testing it to see how it goes. The reason, as many of you know, I have quite a few fiber lasers, but the reason I decided to get the 5-watt IR engraving unit is just because of the size of things that you'll be able to engrave with this. Being that it goes in this huge P3 laser, I figured, you know what, there might come a time where I need to do something bigger than my fiber lasers can handle. And I was so thrilled with the We Create Lumos that I reviewed's 3-watt IR laser. I'm assuming that these 5-watt IRs are gonna be fairly impressive as far as just general marking. Now, we know you're not gonna be able to cut metal with it and do things like that, but if a 3-watt laser can do a very nice marking and engraving, then a 5-watt should be really excellent at it. So let's give it a shot, and I'll give you my opinions and review and what I think of this laser module. So let's get started. So here's our parts. There's not a ton of parts, but we do have a couple screws. We have the laser module itself. We have a spacer. I believe this is for calibrating it to make sure it's at the right distance. And then we do have this one piece here that we do need to attach to the laser. And this is what we're going to be starting with first, is doing this initial piece right here. Also, make sure that your machine is not powered on. Make sure it is turned off before you proceed with any of the further steps going on here. All right, the first thing we need to do is we need to take this arm and attach it right here with the screws provided. They did provide me with an Allen key and a small screwdriver. Because of the size of the laser unit, it looks like the Allen key is going to be your best choice. It looks like the screwdriver would be hitting up against the side of the laser here. Okay, so easy enough, that's in. And I'm just making sure that's good and snug. There we go. Step 1 done. All right, the next step, we have to remove the protective cover that's on this wire right here, which is simply a USB cover. We're going to put that to the side, and then it tells us we want to remove these wheel roller covers, but it says not to throw them out, to save them for storing the unit when you're not in use. It sounds like they want you to keep these covers on top of these wheels. So we're going to pull those off, but we're going to put them to the side here. I'm going to lay them flat so they don't roll off, and we'll keep those for later, just like they say. So now we're all good to go. On to our next step. All right, now we're going to snap this into place. All you have to do is put the lower rollers down. If you push on these thumbs, you'll see these top rollers drop down. These go under the belt. The top ones go over top of this belt. So we simply are going to put these in here like that. You may want to also pull your gantry out a little bit to help you there, and even putting your hand back here to keep it from sliding on you isn't a bad idea. And then we're simply going to take this, and there you go. Very easy. It just slides right in there and drops right into place. And you can see that's moving real well. All right, for the next step, we're going to be working underneath the laser module. We need to connect this part here with our laser module. So we're going to slide these two together, and you might have to give it a little bit of a push to get them in there. Now, you're going to take the 2 extra screws that we still have, and we're going to put those in right here to the left and right of this lock. Now, in the future, when you go to take the laser module out, you're just going to unscrew this part here and slide it, because this part's going to stay in here. So we're going to leave this connected after we get these screws put in here. This might be a little challenging here. All right, I think I'm in there. And we're good. I got at least got one of them in. So let me get this one all the way in. Okay, I'm going to grab my other screw. And try and get this one in the top hole. There we go. And good and snug. So they're both in there. Now, what it says is to lock this in place, you want to turn this, I think it said counterclockwise. Let's double check here. So which way locks it? That's locked. Still locked. Okay, it's completely out. There we go. Yeah. Okay, so you see how that works? So we have this little screw here that's on a spring on the module. So now when we go to connect these two, this part stays here. We just bring these two together. Probably pull this spring out a little bit. Yep. And then we just tighten this down clockwise. It screws in. There we go. And now the 2 units are connected together. All right, now we have to connect the wired connection. Mine looks a little bit different than in the manual. They show that this has like a rubber cap over it. Mine literally has a piece of tape. That is all that's here. There's a little piece of tape covering the USB port. So I'm going to peel that piece of tape off for good. There we go. And then I will plug this in. Now I am a little surprised that they don't have a little cap for it. I'm wondering if this, maybe this cap that came with this I can use to put on there when that's not in use. So I'm going to hold on to that little cap because mine does not look like the instructions, and I'll just show you that. I don't know if they've had different module pieces, but you can see here they show this having some type of pull down cap over it. Mine does not have that. Mine literally only had a piece of tape on the module. There was no cap there. So I'm holding on to my little cap so that when I'm not using the module, I'll be able to stick that in there. Mine does not have that piece on there. Okay, next part. All right, we're all done with the inside installation except for doing a calibration test. So that's what we're going to do next. We're going to fire up the machine, make sure that the module gets detected. Then we're going to be using this, which is the laser calibration piece will be used for the test. You will also see that they gave you a tube of silicone. You don't need this now, but this is for later on. If you get indications that it's not moving real well, you can go back and you can grease up the rod that it runs on with the silicone. So you make sure you want to save this for future uses should you need to re-lubricate everything. All right, so let's fire up the machine and see what happens. Okay, I'm gonna bring you over here to my laptop real quick, which is right next to the machine. And you'll see here, we are connected. Path accessories, here we go. All right, infrared laser module connected. Firmware, good. We can check for updates and then we can do calibration. So let's check and see if there's any updates. No updates. All right, so we have to run a calibration test. Items you're gonna need for your calibration test. In your box that came with your laser module, there will be a piece of black paper. You're gonna need this. You're gonna need some masking tape to tape that black paper down to your laser unit. Last, you're gonna need the calibration piece right here. Okay, so let's move on. So you're gonna wanna go up to the top box up top here, go to device settings, and then we're gonna come down to the bottom selection where it says accessories. And scroll down and you should see your laser infrared module. Then we're gonna go over here to the very first calibration test and we're gonna click that. Now it's gonna say, please prepare the following items. Calibration block, and when the block is ready. So we got our calibration block and we're gonna click next. Ensure the red laser is secure and the base plate is clear, and then click lift base plate to raise it to the fixed height. All right, so let's go back over here. This is, everything is clear, and then it says just click lift base plate. So we're going to be clicking back here on here, the lift base plate, which it just lifted the base plate. Okay, now we're going to take our calibration unit and we're going to adjust the base plate till it's snug. And we're going to do that by, we're going to put this under here. And I can't fit mine in, so we're gonna have to lower ours down. And we can do this by clicking on the screen over here. I wanna show you. We're kind of got two things going on at the same time. So I'm clicking this down for mine. And it's moving in little 5mm increments so that I can get this plate under my laser module. So now you can see I can fit that under there now. So now I'm going to raise it up. And we want it so that it can't be moved easily. And for me, it looks like that was it. It just took me one time. So I'm good. Mine can't be moved easily now. So I'm going to come back over here. Oh, let's see, calibration block snug between laser head and base plate. So make sure you check this first. I was wondering why it wasn't going to done. So make sure you click that once it's not moving. Now we'll click done. And it says calibration done. The calibration is complete. If the problem still occurs, blah, 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 blah. Okay, got it. And now it just dropped back down. Now we do have another calibration to run. So we have, don't forget, we're not done yet. Now we go to calibration number 2. So we're gonna click this. And this is telling us the following materials are needed: our masking tape, which I showed you, the piece of paper for the test, and obviously the laser module, which is already installed. Materials ready, we're gonna click next. Okay, center the coherence paper on the base and then use masking tape to secure it along the top edges of the coherence. So we are going to take our paper and we're gonna put it right in the center. I have my piece taped down. If you look in your machine, you will see two little round holes here, which are almost the dead center in there, or you can just get out and measure. I happen to have a centering ruler, so I put my centering ruler down here just to get my piece of paper as close to the dead center of that as possible, and now we're ready to go on to the next step. Okay, I'm gonna hit process. It says lid is not closed, so we have to close our lid. All right, my lid is now closed. Close the lid, click process. All right, here we go. We're clicking process. Processing calibration file. Press the button on the device to process. So we're going back over and hitting the button. Okay, and it just made a perfect little crosshair right in the middle. Now let's see what we're supposed to do. So now we're supposed to look at the laser, and wherever the red light is, I need to click the directional arrows to move it to the center of that crosshair that you can see that it just made. I'm going to turn this light a little bit away. Can you guys see that crosshair? Shut the light out. There you go. All right, see the crosshair? Now my laser light is completely not on there at all. Okay, so I'm assuming we're gonna have to go to the right. It's out of our normal laser head. So that's why. There we go. Oh, too far. Let's come back. We're gonna go up one. Okay, so this is we're aligning the laser dot from our normal head, normal laser cutter. So your far left module, not the new infrared module. And we can adjust how much it moves. So it was moving in big increments. I'm going to lower it now so that it moves in smaller increments. I dropped it down to 20. Okay, and I'm going to drop it even lower. I'm going to come up a little. I'm going to go over. Okay, I'm going to drop it all the way down to about 1 millimeter. There we go. Come left. Or maybe a half a millimeter. We can go all the way down. We can go to a half. I'm going to go 0.5. Let's see. I'm going to go up one. I'm going to go left one. And that to me looks to be spot on. So we're going to go back over to the computer. I'm going to click here where it says the red light is aligned with the box. Click done. That's it. Calibration is complete. And I can click got it. All right, so we're all done on the calibration. I'm going to close that out. Let's move on to doing some tests with the laser module and see what happens. All right, let's see if it will process something normally. Now, I believe that it said that auto mode was not ready for the module. So we're going to start with manual mode. I'm going to take a picture of the overhead background. It says it's capturing. There's our black metal business card. I'm going to measure. I'm going to click that. And it went over. And it appears to have measured just fine. It's interesting. It measured with our regular laser, with the CO2 laser. So when I come into my normal setup here, one of the options is now I can pick a different laser head. So there's the CO2 module, but if I click here, there's a drop down now, and now I can see 5-watt module. And I can now use the 5-watt module. So let's just take some simple text here. We'll keep it real simple. Just my name. We're going to go engrave, shrink this down, put it right in the middle of this business card. Sorry, gang. I'm going to change the module to the 5 watt IR. Okay, it's got the 5 watt IR. We have a speed of 90, or power of 90, and a speed of 130. I don't know if there's any preset materials here for this at this time, so we're just going to click apply. How about let's bring it down. I don't want to go that high of a power. I think that's going to be too high. So let's go 25 at 200. Okay, told me it needs to redetect the focus module. I did just change it to the medium one. I'm going to tell it to redetect. There we go. Now it has my focus module. I'm going to one more time just for, since it might have had the wrong focus module there, I'm going to recheck our focus here. Okay, let's see what happens. Let's see if it engraves this business card. There it goes. All right, all done. We'll let everything move out of the way. And look at that. Excellent job on the business card there. That's perfect. All right, so the main thing here is just going to be figuring out the settings and stuff that you're going to want to use for different things. My next guess would be I'd really like to see what it can do. As you guys know, I do a lot of knife engravings. Just for kicks and laughs, I'm going to grab a knife and we'll do that real quick. Typically, for something of this size, I would be looking at as high a power as possible, most likely for a knife engraving. So we will probably do 100% power. We'll just do a couple initials or something. So let me go grab a knife and let's see how it handles that. Alrighty, so here's one of my old test knives for doing engravings. And we got plenty of room down here. So how about right under Fredo here, which is the workshop dog's name. Why don't we put an engraving right underneath here and see how that comes out. Let's just put this right here on the machine. I'm going to pull a couple of these bars out. Alright, let's do our first engraving test with the 5 watt IR module. I got my old beat around testing knife in here. We're going to try and put an engraving right underneath here. So let's go back to the computer and get it all set up and we'll go from there. Okay, hopefully we're recording our screen right here. I think you can see I did a background picture and I think it's showing us the engravable area. So keep in mind we have a module that's attached to another module. So this whole left area is blocked out and I believe that's simply because it can't engrave in that area, which would make sense. All right, so let's zoom in here a little bit. And I'm going to take a measurement. I'm clicking measure and I'm going to go right here under the Fredo because that's where we're going to put this engraving. And it just ran over and measured. And it's moving up the laser bed. Okay, it just checked that same spot again. All right, now I'm going to move my engraving into place here. I want it right here underneath it. And we're going to go with our 5 watt laser module. I'm going to go 100% power this time. And I suspect we're going to need to be probably around 100 on our speed. And a lot of times I like 300 lines per inch when I'm engraving names and things on knives. These numbers I'm just selecting from past experience. So we'll see how that all goes. I'm going to click process, hitting start. Okay, it's all done. That was pretty fast. I didn't expect it to be that fast. Let's see how it looks. I'm gonna give it a little clean off. Okay. It's a little light, but like I said, we're just winging the numbers here. So I'm gonna make a second adjustment to the speed here, and let's do another pass. Okay, this is 50 millimeters per second. Should give us a nice deep dark engraving. Okay, again, all finished. Let's see how it did. There we go. I think that's a little bit more what we're used to. Okay, there we have a pretty nice black mark. Let me go give it a good cleaning. Alright, so there's the final engraving. It looks pretty good. I do see a little bit of lining in here. Keep in mind this laser is only going left to right. There you go. You see, if I turn it a little bit, see those little lines there? I'm not sure what that's exactly from, but it's a pretty decent engraving. You know, is it as nice as above? No, it's not. But this is from a fiber laser. But that's a pretty decent, you know, that is a pretty decent engraving, and you can feel it that it is in there. It is definitely in the metal. It's not just on the surface. It's not just surface mark. That did remove material. I can feel it. It looks like that 5-watt module did a pretty decent engraving there. All right, so I figured I'd share that with you guys. Hope you enjoyed that. And I'll have more on this to come as I figure out doing, you know, more test patterns and everything. This was kind of just, let's get it set up, let's see how it works, and we'll go from there.